Welcome everyone, thank you for joining me today. I would like to introduce you to my mom, Wendy. Many of you have waited for today's video. I am doing the gift wrapping, bag stuffing, bow making video. I have talked about this, I believe even last year I had mentioned it and we had never gotten to it, so I'm excited to bring that to you today. My mom is an expert gift wrapper. She is an expert bow maker. She is very creative. If I have anything creative about me, I got it from my mom. In fact, when I was a kid, she had a craft store for a period of time in our basement and she taught classes. So she is just very crafty, very creative, all the things that I don't know if I really have. Some people would say so, but if I do, I think I got it from my mom.
And you do. You do have that.
Thank you. So what we're going to do today is we are going to give you tips, first of all, on how to shop for things to make pretty presents. And always remember, like anything, if you do something different, you're doing it right. It's whatever works for you. Our way is just one different style. People wrap gifts differently, they stuff their gift bags differently, and they make their bows differently, and that's okay. What we're gonna be sharing today is what we do, and really a lot of it for me is probably what I learned by watching my mom growing up. So basically what she does is what I do. We fold towels a certain way in our home, and when I met my husband, he folded towels differently, and I was like, oh, I've never seen that. And of course I was like, you're doing it wrong. But in all reality, he just was folding towels the way that he had watched his mom, and I folded towels the way I had watched my mom. Now, if you're wondering how we fold towels in our home today,
that's another whole story.
You ladies, you know exactly where I'm going with this. But really today, what we are going to be sharing is different things to look for when you are picking up things to make pretty packages, and then we'll show you how to put it all together. We're gonna start talking about wrapping paper because I feel that's the beginning of gift wrap. Now for myself, one of the biggest things that I look for when I am looking at gift wrap is the weight of the paper. Some wrapping papers are very, very thin, and I think that they are very hard to work with. They are also cheaper. There are thicker papered wrapping paper, and I like it because I feel like it is easier to work with. Do you find that as well?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, and I usually has a cut line on it.
Yes.
And that also helps.
Right, and this one here does. This is by the Sugar Paper line. I got this at Target, and it has the lines in it, and that really does help. Another little tip that I want to share, and people do things differently, and I actually don't even know what my mom does, but when I am done using all of the wrapping paper, I roll it up. I use little rubber bands like this, and I just put one on one end, just like this. I don't know if you can see it. And then I put one on the other end. Some people use tape, but I find that to be an inconvenience. So I like to use the little rubber bands, and again, I put one on each end. What do you do?
Nothing, and then they rip. Every time I pull them out, the paper rips.
Exactly. So
and that's a great idea, and those are the little kids'
hair bands. That's what they are. Yeah, you can get clear, but I like to use the black rubber ones because then you can see them. But that's what I do. I don't do that until I'm all done wrapping all the gifts. Before we go into wrapping the gift, we want to show you how you put tissue paper inside the box. For instance, if it's a shirt box or a roll box or any box at all, we have always lined our boxes with tissue paper. Let's take a look at how we do that.
What I'm doing now is tearing off the price tag of the shirt. If you're not able to tear it off, you can mark it out with a Sharpie, or Tracy likes to use whiteout. Now I'm going to show you how to line the box with tissue paper. I lay the tissue paper over the box and pleat it to the size of the box. And I kind of smooth out the pleat. And then I'm using 2 sheets in this box. And then I do the same thing with the next sheet. Lay the sheet over the top of the box. And then I pleat it up according to the size of the box, smooth it out, line the box with the tissue paper. Then I put the gift receipt in the bottom, then the shirt on top of the gift receipt, fold the tissue over to one side, tuck it in, then fold the other side. And then you've got your gift
Ready to go?
Ready to go in the box.
Perfect, perfect. So you pleat, you don't fold, correct?
Well, I call it a pleat.
Okay, so here's another example. Talk us through. So you pleat it, kind of going up. There's one. This is a bigger box.
Yes, a bigger box. You used 2 sheets of tissue paper. I even double up the tissue paper so it's heavier, because usually in the larger box you have heavier items, robes, sweaters, whatever, and pleat the two different sections of paper. Here I'm laying it over the top, pleating it up. Looks like I only have 1 layer there of tissue paper.
Yeah,
but
the bottom one did.
The first one I had 2, so
yes.
Whatever works for you. You'll kind of get the feel of it from whatever you put in there, if it's heavy enough for the item. And then I'm just making sure it fits in there nice and snug. And then in goes the backpack.
And some people would put a backpack in a bag. Yeah. When it comes to wrapping gifts, one of the biggest things that people do differently is their ends. And we will show you how we do our ends.
I'm going to show you how I wrap the ends of my gift. I tuck in both sides. Then I smooth out the tab on the top, the fold, and then I smooth the bottom. I'm actually creasing it. Now I fold down the top tab and bring up the bottom and tape it. I usually put 2 pieces of tape on it.
Let's move on to what to look for when purchasing ribbon to make your gifts look really pretty and put pretty bows on them. And again, if you just buy the bows that come in the bag, that is perfectly fine. But if you want to know how to make a beautiful bow out of ribbon, we're here to show you. Mom, what do you look for when you are choosing and selecting ribbon?
Well, I prefer the ones with the wire edges because it allows me to work the loops around.
Right.
And put them wherever I want them.
And they hold.
And they hold.
They hold. Because once you form that, and you can play with it, that's the other thing. They don't actually start out looking like a perfect bow. You shape them and you form them. So for instance, this one here is a perfect example. And if you loop it, you can, it's gonna hold a lot easier. Now let's show you what another type of ribbon would look like that's much floppier.
This one has no wire in it, so you can make more of a floppy bow where it lays flatter on the package. So this is this one that does not have the wire edges, and this one's laying pretty good. I mean, a lot of times they just flop down. This one I put a center part in it. You don't have to do that. You can just tie it and make a bow. But these don't stand up as nice as this would.
Yes, exactly. So 2 different types.
Yeah.
Although this is a stiffer ribbon, if you use the real satiny ribbon, I feel like that's the floppiest.
Yeah, real floppy.
And I don't really have any of that to show. I do have this one here to show, but again, this isn't that satiny ribbon. This is a little bit ribbed.
Yeah, this is a grosgrain. I think they call it grosgrain. And it is, like, as you can see, it's a floppy ribbon. It doesn't have no stiffness to it. So that's not going to stand up. It's going to lay flatter on the package. It still looks nice. There's certain times where you want that type of bow.
Right. And I did this one, and that's because that's really the best I can do. My mom does all my bow making for me, and you will see why when you see all of the beautiful bows. The other thing that we want to mention, and Mom and I both agree on this, it's nice to have fun with your ribbon. If you look at this wrapping paper, most people would probably use a red or a white because they would feel like it matches the paper. You don't have to. Have fun with it. Mix and match, play with your colors. I think it's fun to be a little bit whimsical and festive.
This is another example of using not a solid colored ribbon with a print pattern or paper. It does pick up a few of the colors. You don't have to pick up the colors, but this one does, but it just stands out beautiful on that package.
I think so too. And I love the stripes, and if you look at it, it's really not Christmas ribbon, so this could be used year-round for birthdays and things like that. So keep all of your ribbon together because you never know what you could resource it for. Don't think everything has to be all Christmas looking.
Another type of bow is you got smaller packages, so you're not going to make the big round bow. So you make, this is another center loop, which you don't have to do, but you can use a center loop on it. And this one just spreads out longer, elongated more for a smaller elongated package.
Right. So you
But that is wired.
Yeah, and
that
you
is
scale it to size.
Yeah.
Do you feel like a narrower wire ribbon is easier to work with than a wider?
Well, yes, it is, because you're not having to hold all that scrunched in your hand. So it is easier to use, but I wouldn't use a narrow ribbon on a big package.
Right, because it just wouldn't look proportioned.
Right, it's not proportioned right.
Another little thing I want to add on here is we have always loved to either put candy on top of packages. Whenever we get ornaments, my mom always does ornaments on packages for all of the grandkids. We get candy in our packages. I have carried on that tradition by doing different things for my kids. This is actually just a cardboard ornament that would get thrown away, but inside is a Better Than Sex mascara. And if you watched my Christmas gift guide video under $25, you would have gotten to see a lot of these, and I think I even shared a lot of that on a blog post. So it's fun to add little things. I think it's also fun to set out large gifts that aren't wrapped. Think of after Santa comes, the kids come down the stairs, they see the tree, and they see like a big Barbie house or a kitchen. Yes, we always had gifts sitting out under the tree that were not wrapped, and that is such a wonderful memory, and we carried on that tradition with our kids as well.
This is something you're going to need to make your bows, and there's different options. You can use this. This is a twist tie. It's you can cut it to length.
It's kind of nice because that one's in a spool, so it pulls out through the center.
And then you can cut it to length, and then you run that over your ribbon. Your ribbon's here. You bring it down and twist it. The tighter you can get it behind all that bow material, the better.
And you'll see that in the demonstration, but you definitely have to have wire.
Yes.
You do, okay.
And another option would be...
wire. Is it floral wire?
Floral wire, but you have to worry about when you twist it real tight, it could break off. It depends how thick your floral wire is.
Okay.
Another option would be chenille stems, they call it.
I call it pipe
Back in the day, it was pipe cleaners.
Okay.
Now it's called chenille stems.
Because
you can match it to the ribbon, the color of the ribbon. That's another option. I prefer to use something like this.
I do too. Well, not that I do it.
Yeah.
I prefer to buy this for her.
And then after I twist it on the bow, if there's a lot hanging out, I just snip that off and then fold it on over so nobody pokes. You know, you can get some of that wire. This isn't so bad, but floral wire, you can really get poked with it.
You can.
And chenille stems is another thing. This is covered more. So I would say this is your... This
and that's just
is your best option.
Yeah, twist tie is actually what it's called. So yeah.
So
perfect. And I think Paul bought that. I think he got that.
It's got a cutter on it.
Yeah.
It does. Scissors. You might need
See, he was thinking. He was thinking. Oh, there you go. Hopefully we can find that exact one and link it. That would be perfect.
There you go.
Let's go into watching my mom teach us how to put together a bow.
The ribbon I'm using right now is not the easiest to work with because it's got a lot of glitter on it. And it's hard to scrunch. So you'll know what scrunching is as I make this. I start out making a loop, and then I make the loop as long as the length of how large around I want the bow. I scrunch it, then I take and I twist it, and then I go down and make the loop on the bottom and come up and twist it and go back up and make the loop on top. And to try to keep the lengths even, I stick my finger through the loop next to the other loop that's already on the top or bottom, whichever way I'm going, to try to get the same length. Most bows I make are probably close to 3 yards, maybe a little bit smaller because some packages are smaller. So you're going to use less ribbon on those. Some ribbons are easier to work with than others because some is thicker, like your velvets are hard to work with. And you'll find some ribbon is easier to scrunch and hold in your hands. But the thicker the ribbon, the harder it is to hold it.
Yeah, it looks
scrunched together.
Right.
And I usually put on a normal bow, say a 3-yard bow or 2.5 to 3 yards, I usually put 5 loops on top and 5 loops on bottom.
So one of these sides is top and one side's the bottom.
Yeah,
and you're doing 5 and 5. Okay, that makes
work
sense.
from top to bottom, top to bottom, top to bottom.
Gotcha.
And then after you get your 5 loops, or you can make less loops, then you run your...
So you're twisting. After you're doing that loop...
Then I bring it down, I just put it under my hand, and twist it in the opposite direction.
I see. To
go down the opposite direction.
Okay, and now you just took a piece of the...
coated wire.
Yep.
And you want to twist it real tight. You don't want it to be loose back there.
So you want to make sure it's definitely long enough with a little extra so that you can twist it.
But then you can cut it off.
Right, so go long. I would say go long.
Go a little longer.
I'm learning with you guys.
Twist it real tight, and then you can cut it off. And then you can trim your 2 tails of your ribbon.
And you kind of do it at an angle.
I do it at an angle or the other way.
The other way where you pinch them together.
Where you fold them together and cut up.
Right, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Now, how do you determine... So would you advise people to know what gift your bow is going on prior to making your bow? Because then you know how big you want your loops. Okay, I can see that.
Definitely.
Okay, I can see
So
that.
you're going to... The bigger the bow, the longer the loops on top and bottom are going to be. The smaller the bow, the shorter the loops, or if it's a real small gift, you might not even want to go 5 loops on top and bottom.
I was wondering that. Yep, I was wondering that.
And you'll find that I've got some packages where I make a center loop.
Okay.
And a lot of times I do that on smaller bows.
Looks perfect. Look at that. So here's another one. This one's going to be a little bit better, easier ribbon to work with because it doesn't have that glitter, correct?
Yes, it is. Much easier to work with, but I'm basically making it the same way.
Okay.
Loop on top, twist, loop on bottom, twist, back to the top, make a loop, twist, back to the bottom.
So you don't cut your ribbon. You want to keep the ribbon still on the spool as you're making it because you don't know how much ribbon you're going to use. Because I see that you don't cut any ribbon off. No. You leave it on the spool. Perfect. Okay.
I've done that by making a mistake, and then I don't have enough ribbon to... I might have 5 on top and 4 on the bottom.
Right.
You know,
and
you
need
can't
to have
it.
And you have to have even, or it's just not going to look right.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they should be even.
Okay.
To make it filled out. Once you get done making it, you kind of work with the loops to make it filled out looking or whatever.
Okay, it looks like you're getting further along here. It looks like there's 4 on top, 4 on bottom. You're probably doing the 5th one. Twisting. Yep. Okay. Yeah. I can do this. Maybe. Are you ladies with me? Maybe.
It can be hard on your hands if you're making a lot of them. I was going to say,
yes.
You have to give your hands a rest after so many.
But I totally see what you're doing. And then I think for me, it's just remembering that twist.
Yeah.
Okay, so here you're attaching it to the gift.
Yes, I'm putting just regular Scotch tape on there, but Tracy's noticed that they're not staying on that well with Scotch tape. She suggested I use the, what is that called? Box tape?
Clear packing tape.
And that does work better to hold the bows because you move them around and then they get knocked loose, and the packing tape does work better.
And it looked like you actually had a lot of wire left over, and you attached the wire to the gift with tape first.
Well, that one I did, but I learned as I went along because it's been a while since I've made it. You know, I only do all these bows once a year. You know, and I was kind of just bending it back and forth and putting it on there, and I thought, well, you need to just cut it off, and that's what I started doing. It's just leaving a short little tail on there and bending it a little bit or whatever, and instead of having all of that just folded up underneath.
And then you can tape wherever. So you could tape a couple of the loops right to the gift to hold it down. Go
inside the loop and tape the bottom part of the loop, or you can tape the tails. Right. But it's hidden more if you tape the loop, the bottom of the loop.
And then here's another gift, and I love that. See how fun that ribbon is? You have the polka dot wrapping paper, and then you just have kind of the fun ribbon. I love that. Now here you're making another type of bow, but you're still using wire ribbon, just like we have been, correct?
Yes, this one's going to have a center loop to it. And usually if I have a center loop, I might make a little bit smaller bow. You can do the same thing with a bigger bow too, so I shouldn't really say that, but because I used to always make a center loop in all my bows, but then I got away from it without the center loop. But this has got the center loop, and you're going to see when I'm done, it will have a little bit different look. You don't ever have to worry about your wire showing on this one because it has a center loop, so it hides your wire.
But yet if your wire was showing, you just work with your ribbon, twist it after you're done to kind of
fill it in
to camouflage that.
Yeah. This one's probably going to just have loops on top and bottom, not fan out around like a round bow.
Like almost like a flower.
It's going to be a more elongated bow, flower. So I like the center loop with that because there's no way of hiding it.
Makes sense. That would make sense.
No way of hiding it, the center.
Now, are you still doing your loops the same size with this one, or do you make them bigger as you go out?
Yes, that one I went a little bigger. Each loop at the top, I would make, after the first one, when I come back around to the top again, I make it a little bit longer than the first loop, same way on the bottom. Then the third loop going up, I'd make it a little bit longer than the second loop I made on top and then bottom.
And see, here you're looping it underneath, so it'll be camouflaged.
Yes. So you just slide it through the wire through the loop, and then around to the back, just like the other ribbons. The only thing you got that center loop, that little thing around your thumb, a center loop, kind of hiding the wire, so you don't have to try to fluff up the ribbon so much as you do without the center loop. And there's different widths of ribbon, so you're going to get fuller bows with wider ribbon. I used to have a craft store, and all the ribbons was labeled by number, but I don't think they are now, so I don't know what width this ribbon is. Okay. I would have to look on the spool. But
it looks like 2.5 inch, I think it says. 2.5 inches wide by 55 yards. And again, here she's using Scotch tape, but we have definitely came to the conclusion that packing tape will hold it better. And this looks like the same type of bow. It's just a different one.
Yes.
Same type. It's got the center loop. You've got 3 on each side of the loops, and you can tell your loops got bigger the closer to the gift.
Yes.
Yep. Perfect. Exactly. That's gorgeous. Love it. Now this is going to be that really satiny ribbon. So this is going to give you a really floppy bow, right? Because there's no wire.
Yes, that's the satin. It's floppy about like the grosgrain. This is probably a little bit softer ribbon that it's going to flop more even than the grosgrain.
Excuse all the glitter. That's from all of the other ribbons transferring over. We had quite the mess. Yep. And then you pull it out to where you get the look you want.
Yeah. And there it is.
It's perfect. Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. We learned a lot.
Just another look.
The last thing that I want to talk about is how I do gift bags. Now, for me, I believe there's a way to really make your tissue paper look magical, but there is a downside. You will use a lot of tissue paper if you implement the way that I do it. So if you are trying to save on tissue paper, this probably isn't going to be the way for you to do it. And again, do whatever works for you, but I've had many people ask me how I do my tissue paper, and I'll be happy to share that with you today. Here is a bag that is already done, and I can assure you there is a lot of tissue paper in this bag.
And her bags are beautiful.
Thank you. Here is another bag. This one has a really unique detail to the tissue paper. As you can see, it's rounded or scalloped. So you can have fun, again, get patterns, get different colors, get different textures. You can get glitter. There's so many varieties that you can do, and again, play with it. Everything doesn't have to be matchy-matchy. And you really can't see me, but here is another bag. This is a very, very, very large bag. And believe me, there's a lot of tissue paper in here. Okay, so I have a bag here, and actually this is a recycled bag. This was a bag that was gifted to somebody last year. Don't hesitate to recycle your bags if they're in good shape. I don't recommend that you give a gift to someone unless it's your spouse, your significant other, your children, somebody close. Put in a little bit of extra if you are giving somebody else a gift. That's just my suggestion. So the bag is completely empty.
And we all have those recycled bags.
We do. Yeah. We do, yes. Yes, I try to. Actually, on Christmas morning, I am like chasing everybody around because I want their boxes. I don't want the tissue paper. I don't save tissue paper and fold it up. I always start fresh. Do you?
Yes.
I was going to
say. It gets pretty, it looks used.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have that fresh, smooth It doesn't have that smooth look. You can tell it's been wrinkled and used.
I agree.
Yeah.
So I don't go after that, but I do go after bags. And when I see somebody crumble one up that was in good shape, I'm like, no, don't do that. But I also am really going after the boxes if they're in good shape as well. So what I do is I start out by just crumbling up some white tissue paper, and I just put it in the bottom of the bag. Here's another one. Just putting it in, bottom of the bag. I determine how many I am going to put in the bag by the size of the bag. If it's a very tiny bag, it might only get one, or if it's the normal size that's a little bit above that, it might get two. This bag has 4 in it. Now, do you stuff white tissue paper in the bottom of a
Yes.
bag? You do. Okay,
Yes.
so see, I don't even know. We're learning.
I do, and I sometimes even wrap the gift
I do
that
too.
goes in it in tissue paper.
I do as well, and there are a few gifts that will be under our tree this year that are like that. Now I'm going to take my tissue paper, and again, have fun. Most likely, somebody would put solid red or solid green, and I would as well. But who's to say that I can't have a little bit of fun with something decorative like that inside this bag? Here is another really festive printed tissue paper. To me, this would look beautiful in a solid green bag. And a lot of people might think in a red bag, but I think in a green bag, bring in your red and white. What I'm gonna do in this bag is I'm gonna get a little creative, and we're gonna use 3 different colors. So again, have fun, play with it. So we have a piece of tissue paper right here. I grab the tissue paper in the center, and I like the shiny side up. Your tissue paper will normally have a shiny side and a dull side, and I kind of grab it in the center. It doesn't have to be perfect. Let me back up though and say that your gift will go inside the bag after you put the white tissue paper in. So white tissue paper, then you put your gift in there, and now you're gonna stuff the tissue paper in around your gift.
I had to learn this from her because I never knew how she did the tissue paper, which I do now.
What you do is you take it like this, and you tip it up, and you kind of just go like that, almost like you're making a little cone. And then I pull up my corners, and I put it inside the bag. Now, it might take you to do a few before it stands upright, and I actually don't have anything in this bag to support it, so that's probably working against me slightly. Now I'm gonna take a green one, and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna come up, pull up my 4 corners, and I'm going to stick it inside the bag. I have a decorative one here.
And I never realized there was a shiny side to the tissue, so I'm learning from this as well. Even though I knew she did the cone shape, I did not realize there was a shiny side.
Dull side.
Right.
When it's printed, you will, because the printed side is going to be shiny. You can obviously see that's dull, but when it's your solid ones, you will not be able to see it. Now this bag is not completely done. I would fill it a little bit more, but my mom was saying that she doesn't do them as tight. So hers would be more like this, and she wouldn't use as many tissue paper by doing that. So there's nothing wrong with that. Again, it just depends on how many you want to get in there. Now this one here does have a gift inside of it, so it does kind of support your tissue paper. The other thing that you can do is if you needed to tie a ribbon because you wanted to carry it, you could, because as you can see, it's very difficult to carry a bag with one hand when it's like this. But I'm about making a pretty gift, so when I set it under the tree, I set it under there like that. So that's just something that I prefer to do. But again, it could be very wasteful to somebody else, and they may not want to use all of that tissue paper.
I do think it looks better.
You do think
Fuller.
yeah. I do too. I do too. Yeah. If you're comparing the two.
I guess I never did that, so I didn't realize the difference till I look at yours.
Yeah, there's a lot of tissue paper in that particular one. So again, it really is just personal preference.
Yes.
I also want to show you a little bag. So I have a little one here. I love this bag because it says ho to the third, like ho, ho, ho. So how clever, especially for somebody who's just not good at anything to do with math or anything close to it. But I thought that was super cute and clever. So I have this little bag, and what is going to go in this bag? A little jar of Christmas preserves and a gift card. This is for my grandma.
Who is my mother.
Her mother, so my grandma.
She turned 90.
Oh, she turned 90
in October.
So she's not, oh, and it's the other grandma that's 89.
Yes.
Okay, because they're 1 year apart, yeah.
Yes, so she turned 90 in October, and that's
we should have brought her along to be here. She could have talked about if she did bow. Who knows? But anyway, I got her a gift card and then some little Christmas preserves, and we're going to put it in this little bag. I'm going to stuff the bag with white tissue paper, but because I have something heavy going in it, I'll show you something that I do. And this can apply for any bag as well. Sometimes before putting the tissue paper in, I will put the heavy item inside the bag, and I will put the white tissue paper around it to keep it balanced. Being a small bag, I only want one tissue paper. I'm just gonna cut it in half. I'm gonna wad up this side, and I tucked it down that side on one side of the Christmas preserves, and I'm going to put this on the other side. And what that does is it's just a support and anchor for it. Our jar is in there, and now I'm going to take this and I'm just going to slide it in. Everything's in the bag. We're going to have a little fun with the snowflake tissue paper. Again, I grab it by the center and I bring all of my points up. Just like that. And there you have it. I used 3 of the snowflake tissue paper and I used 1 of the white. So perfect little gift. That gives you an idea. Again, you're just gonna play with it. There you have it. Gift wrapping, bow making, bag stuffing, how to make a pretty present. I hope you found this to be super helpful. Thank you, Mom, for joining us and giving us your expertise.
You're welcome, honey.
We really enjoyed it. If you have any comments or suggestions, or let us know how you do things for your pretty packages. Do you use tissue paper? Do you stuff it in that way? How do you do the ends of your gifts? Do you put tissue paper in? I like to hear how other people do things, so please feel free to share. We are all here to learn from one another, just like I learned from Mom. And we all do things differently, and that's okay. The most important thing is that you have the most merriest Christmas, the happiest holiday, cheerful, be thankful, give the gift of time. That's always the best gift that you can give to anybody, is the gift of time over anything that comes in a pretty package. All right, thanks for joining us today, and we will see you in the next video. Thanks for joining me, Mom. Love you.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.